everybody. Welcome to First Glance with Jody Vance. We're continuing our series with the guru himself at EQUITY.GURU. Chris Parry is with us. Chris, this piece of the series, I think, is a part of the puzzle that is so vital. And you are absolutely the qualified expert to share with CEOs, with people within companies at any level, really, on how to find and define their company's storyline. Where do you begin?
Well, I think that the step one is differentiation, right? A lot of times, let's take the psychedelics industry or the cannabis industry or the mining industry. They're all pretty much run the same lines. Something gets hot, a sector gets hot, and suddenly there's a lot of companies jumping into that space. And when you say, so why are you different? They'll always go to the same thing. They'll say, well, we have the best executives and directors in the world. If that were always true, then there's like a billion great executives and directors in the world, right? We've got we're taking this seriously. Everyone else is just a fly by night. Cool. Okay. What else? It's $1 billion industry. Okay, but you're not part of it yet. Like, what else? What is your story that in elevator pitch is a term that's overused and understood? Literally within 20 seconds. Tell me your story, compact it into a ball that could just sit in front of me, and so that anybody, anywhere can understand. If the first 3 minutes of your elevator pitch exists, it is not just 20 seconds, you've already gone too far. You're off the deep end.
You're in the weeds.
You may have to explain your sector sometimes to people who don't, like, why is psychedelics a good thing? Same concept has to go into that. Psychedelics is a good thing because there are elements to it that remove ego, open the mind, and allow you to get past things that are actually stopping you psychologically. That's it. That's all you need to say. You don't need to get into and this and that and this. And
might be a replacement for some things that could help with depression, or the things and the science and the trials and the da-da-da, because you just given here's the nugget.
Yep. It can be really good for you if you take away the whole tripping balls thing. That's all you need to say. Okay, so why your company instead of everyone else's company? Okay, so here's the specific thing that we're doing that we either are best of class in or nobody else is doing, right? That's got to be the core of your story.
Yeah.
If you're going to go with we are the best people to do this, well, the next part of your story is, well, why is that? And if you can't really back it up, if it's just you guys think you're really good and everyone else thinks they're really good, that's not really it. I'll take our professional wrestling promotion that we started as an example, right? When we started this thing off, if all we were going to do was the same thing as everybody else out there, there's no point in doing it. There's no differentiator. We're never going to take over the business. What can we do that's better? Okay, so it's a cheap business to run. Everybody's coming out of COVID and wants to go to live events. In this particular geographic area, there's no one who's really doing it to a strong production value. So we've got this high quality production team, we've got high quality venues, we've got a core audience that loves it, and we've got a talent base that's amazing.
Yeah. Boom.
Done, right?
Sold. But where do I buy my tickets?
This is anything different. Now I've got a guy who's running it, who's got 18 years of experience in minor league baseball. Bang, out of the park. No one else has got that.
I also like that you can then go, and here's a link to that quality broadcast I was telling you about, click.
Right.
Because then the follow through it needs to be there as well. Because you can talk a big game, but you have to be able to say, oh, by the way, I have proof of all this available at.
And part of that is branding as well, right? So like when you look at our wrestling organization's branding, it is impeccable. It is like a major league sports branding package. Everything we do has a style guide, uses the same font, uses the same graphics. Now you look at across the public markets, that just doesn't happen very often. Generally speaking, you've got a logo that someone spent $20 on some website for, or someone's cousin has done for them as a favor. It looks like they're renting trucks and tractors. There's nothing in it that makes you go, woof, okay. The logo doesn't explain what you do. It doesn't give off an impression of uber professionalism. It's just a function. And so what we really want, ideally, when you're telling a story, is you want to cut to the chase. You want to look professional. You want to make it appear that you have already passed the first 2 or 3 levels that you need to pass to establish a business. Now, that just might be that you're not going to talk so much about the things that are works in progress, but it can also be talking about the things that are works in progress. Here are the challenges that we have, and here's the great plan that we have to push right through them. And here's the evidence that we've already done that with some other challenges. Like, this is all interesting storytelling. And you know, as somebody who's been in front of a camera for a considerable amount of time and talked to thousands, I'd say, of people that have a story that they're trying to push, getting that story out of them in a way that does them a service is sometimes really difficult from a broadcaster's perspective, right? Because they don't have that story going in. They have that 3-minute explanation as to what they do that you, 20 seconds in, you're looking at your watch going, this is bad radio. I got to cut you off and I got to push you towards the good stuff, right?
And that therein lies a piece of advice, I think, as well. Going in, having it so structured in your mind as to how you're going to present your story, leaves you closed to being asked a question that's perhaps unexpected, that might reveal the piece of your story that makes you special or memorable or entertaining or whatever that piece might be, that unexpected. That's what you and I, when we first talked about First Glance with Jody Vance, I'm no expert in mining or psychedelics or markets, but I'm a story puller.
Viewers, right? Yeah, you're doing the job for the viewer, which is, that's interesting, tell me more, or that's not interesting, I'm more interested in this other thing, let me push you in that direction.
Yeah.
And ideally, your interview subject should be ready to go in that direction, or they should almost be like leading you to the direction.
And I know I've done that, when at the end of the interview they go, wow, that was so different than what I usually get asked. So when you're coming at it from the other side, go in with that openness of trusting that you'll be asked not what's in the gobbledygook of your, deck that you pulled from your website to over explain yet again, but actually connect and say, this is the person that I am behind this logo, this brand, this flashy package. And I'm here. And I love it when CEOs say, no, I answer investor inquiries. So when you hit that email, it doesn't only come to me because we're busy, but I ultimately will see that. And if there's a question that no one else can answer, I'll answer it for you. And often that is a piece of the story that kind of peaks, because it feels like a world that sometimes can be closed off.
Yeah, like from a marketing perspective, I think people often underlook or overlook the value of vulnerability.
100%, Chris.
If you just come in and you're like, oh yeah, we're great, we do this, we do that, we do this, we do that, oh my God, we're so great. Okay. Yeah. But what's more interesting is, you know what, one issue that we have that we're really kind of struggling with, but once we've got this thing together and have figured it out, then it's to the moon. That's interesting to me, right? I want to know, if you're telling me, hey, we've got too much debt, but we have a plan for that, and here's what we're going to do. Fantastic. You've just taken that negative thing out of the online message boards, and you've removed the oxygen from that conversation. Anyone who wants to put shit on you and say, oh, but they've got too much debt, you're like, yeah, we do, but here's our plan, right? Yeah. Hey, you've got an inexperienced CEO. Absolutely. But here's what I bring that an experienced CEO might not have. Here's how I got into this story. Here's how I fought tooth and nail to get this company public. Like, it's interesting stuff. And even if it's like, we had to fight off some bad guys, we had to raise money at a low cost, and, there's going to be things for us to work through. I'm interested in that story, and I'm interested in your plan to get out of it, because anyone who says they don't have a dark horse of the apocalypse somewhere in the deal is lying to me.
Yeah.
Right. And
hiding it. Yeah. Hiding it, which as an investor, my position would be, I would prefer to be with somebody who's transparent about the challenges, as opposed to somebody who is like, don't look at the sparkly things, don't listen to those people that are saying that over there. Don't read Chris Parry's latest. We'll fix it first, and then he'll tell you that we've done better. That's why the newsletter that you do is so vital, because you're very diligent and quick to say, this is a problem with this company, or this CEO has a challenge, and when they fix it, you'll come back and say, oh, they fixed it. Remember I told you about that? Well, now it's and there's that's the story. Like being able to take what you've done on the company and share it is
quite
Because
frankly,
people are scared of you because you're so honest.
I think there's nothing more magnetic to a company than
Yeah.
saying, we screwed up bad.
Right?
We screwed up bad. We didn't see this thing coming. It totally took the rug out from under us. The stock is down 90%. But here's the thing. We've learned from that, right? That's cost some shareholders some money. Oops, it happens.
Yeah.
But now
Risk.
we're in a position where we've figured it out.
Yeah.
We've retooled. And now you get to buy into the company at 10% what you'd buy into it 6 months ago. You know, now we've got no reason to go further down because we've got it. We figured it out. We're a better company for it. And now it's onward and upward. Take my money. Like
Opportunity.
I'm on that right now because you're honest, one. Because two, everyone learns and being open about it is important. Three, you're right. I get a value out of buying your stock now instead of buying it early on when everyone was talking about it, writing it down and having to figure out, do I sell it? I want to come in when everyone else has lost their money, you know, because now I'm going to make that money back.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the storytelling and addressing risk, because obviously there's risk always in investing.
Yeah. So, you know, especially in the public markets, you've kind of got to document your risk, right? When you're putting your financials in, you know, your risk is outlined in documents. And people generally don't want anyone looking at that area because it's scary, right? Mm-hmm. This company may depend on raising money to become a going concern. That sounds scary in and of itself. It's pretty standard boilerplate, but the risk element from an investor's perspective is, I want to know that this company is going to be around for a while. I want to know that the guys behind it have a track record of being around for a while,
right?
Having good, solid exits. I want to know that I would do business with this company myself personally, right? If I'm interested in your sector, if you're plant-based foods, do you have products that I would use? And if you do, well, great. I can buy those products, but I can also benefit on the other side from the revenue that comes from myself and people like myself. You know, if you can find one thing about your company that makes people go, oh, I didn't know that, that's a win. If you
that's a win.
Do things about it, then that's a real win.
That's a slam dunk.
You've got to just be able to, you know, hey, we're really good at this one thing here that I'm going to talk about for 5 seconds, but also this good thing here is great. I'm going to talk about that for 5 seconds. And then, you know, it's like the old TV commercials and infomercials, and you get a set of steak knives.
That's right.
And you get 2 for the price of 1.
And if you call right now, you get it for 1/5 the price. Yeah.
So if you're a mining explorer that's got 6 holes in the ground in Moose Jaw,
yeah,
how do you make that story? Well, you know, you don't have product yet. You don't have revenue yet. You don't necessarily have a market that you're going to be able to say we're going to be a part of, because you've got to go through permits and you've got to do, it's going to be a long, slow build. But what have you got? Well, you've got an origin story, probably. You've got a drunken geo somewhere who had some gambling debts and so paid them off by selling you this piece of land that turns out is actually really great. That's a story.
That's a story.
We spent 2 years trying to get the first $100,000 because everyone looked at it and said, there's a bunch of those out there. But finally we got the money and now we're finding that's a story.
Yeah.
This company's too small. It's too new. I don't have anything to tell you that's fun. But my last company, I did this amazing thing that turned out really well. That's a story. We've got First Nations guys on the property that we're giving work to and training so that they can have careers. And you know what? We don't have a lot for them to do yet, but we're planning for the future.
Yeah.
That's the story, right? Like
ethical mining, finding ways to be cleaner on a site for those who are, you know, very influenced by, you know, climate change and wanting to maybe make sure that their investments go down that path. That's the story.
Who came to this property before us, they filled in a salmon run and we're reopening the salmon run. And while we're doing it, we're finding bits of gold in the tailings that they left behind. Fantastic. You've got me. I'm with you. Like, here's 3 stories about, you know, markets financing sharks that nearly destroyed us, but we soldiered through.
Yeah.
Right. Fantastic. Like, there's all sorts of stories around. As journalists, we find them, right? Our job is to sort of probe people and say, you know, what's with this, what's with that. But generally speaking, the guys that are telling the story haven't put any thought into what is that interesting little nugget that will get somebody to go, Yeah, tell me more about that. And
Right.
it's always there. Like, as full well, how many times have you interviewed somebody and there's just been nothing that you could find?
Very rare.
Very rare,
The only times that I've had that happen to me, honestly, actually, I'll give you two instances. Politicians,
right? By design.
yes, and people who are terrified to be near a microphone or on camera, because I will have amazing conversations off camera, off mic. Red light goes on, and they go, which is why in First Glance with Jody Vance, I say, you know what? If you stumble, if you feel like we can edit anything out, if something happens, if you brain fart in the middle of it, like, but work to what you were saying earlier, and across this whole series that you and I are doing, is sometimes it's those moments that you might feel like it's a mistake, that's where you actually pull in your audience. It's why we love bloopers. It's why we love, caught on video shows and, outtakes.
If I think back to a municipal election that I was working with a political party on a couple of elections back, Mayor Gregor against Mayor potential Lapointe. And, Kirk Lapointe, great guy, good policies, iffy party behind him, but I could get behind the dude. So I was helping him out. We're doing some marketing. And we went from 20 points behind Gregor because no one knew who Lapointe was to 2 points ahead of him the day before the election. And what does Gregor do? He says, sorry. He said, I'm really sorry that I've screwed up over the last 3-4 years. We'll do better. We've learned some lessons. We can only try and do better as we go. I'll admit that there were things we could have done better, and I apologize for that. And at like Lapointe headquarters, we were like, oh no.
That was literally the only move he had left. That was literally the only move he had left. That's how strong. And I got to say, Kirk Lapointe was a colleague of mine at Roundhouse Radio, and a spectacular one at that. So I am leaning hard into just how qualified he might have been as mayor, even though he joined the race so late, and made it to that point that the only fix was sorry. That's a lesson to CEOs, politicians, and companies, especially companies with risk, not that far apart.
The being real moment is not to be understated. It's just, you can talk yourself in circles, you can deflect, you can obfuscate, you can accuse the other guy, but being real for a second is just the gold mine. And if you're trying
I see what you did there. It's a gold mine. We got to stop there. Save something for next week, boss man.
If you're trying to show that you're credible and that you're not just like everybody else, like being real is the way to go. It's the only way to go. It's, hey guys, one question I often ask CEOs is, how's things going at home? And I'm always shocked by how that pulls a shitty interview right back onto the rails. You know what? It's tough at home. I've got 2 kids. They're growing up. I'm spending so much time at the coalface, and they're growing so hard and so fast. But I really want to do something with this company to be a legacy for them. You got me.
Story. You got me.
I'll put some credit on you for that, But if it's like, oh yeah, my only problem
how it is, moving and grooving.
I'm too much of a perfectionist. Hey, I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I'm putting all my energy into that and this. Holy shit! Okay, that's interesting. I'm down with that.
I like a good root for them story. Yeah. All right, Chris, we're out of time.
Right,
gotta go. Meet you here next week, same time.
Same time, every time.
EQUITY.GURU, Chris Parry, Jody Vance. This is First Glance with Jody Vance. Thanks for tuning in.